Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing an incredibly powerful yet underrated Pokemon for the Retro Cup, that is Psywave Lunatone. Throughout the course of the Retro Cup, I found myself consistently losing to Lunatone, and I said enough is enough, I have to try this Pokemon and see what the hype's about. And oh my goodness, it is incredibly strong. I saw a Japanese battler hit 3000 heal with a team consisting of Lunatone, Hakamo-o, and Altaria, gave it a shot, and honestly, Lunatone was an absolute menace. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in game number 1, we get the dream lead, Lunatone into Shadow Primeape. My opponent safe switches into Altaria, but they are just completely core broken by Lunatone. Ice Weather Ball, devastating double super effective damage, and Lunatone doesn't really have to fear any charge stack here. But this Altaria has a surprise, it's running Dragon Pulse, and just like that, I lose almost my entire Lunatone. But I get a huge farm down with Altaria, and this energy will be incredibly scary as my opponent brings back in the Shadow Primeape. Primeape forced to shield up the Sky Attack. They're going to need to Ice Punch because if they don't, I'm getting to a second Sky Attack. Now they're forced to go down both shields. They can look to farm up a ton of energy, but with a 2 shield advantage, I'm more than happy to let Altaria go. They do have Ice Punch, it takes the knockout, I send in Hakamo-o, and I'm assuming my opponent blind through a Rage Fist anticipating Lunatone. So I'm still not going to shield until they make it to a second charge attack. After this, I'm going to try and snipe them down with Psywaves on Lunatone, but it's a simultaneous switch, Lunatone into Oranguru. Confusion is going to be resisted here, so they don't have a lot of fast move pressure. Lunatone fires off the Rock Slide, and I will just get to the Weather Ball Ice right before I get farmed down. Weather Ball Ice is going to be getting Oranguru deep into the red HP, and I don't have to respect any charge stacks on the Hakamo-o, because Trailblaze is going to be resisted. Now I can undertap the Brick Break to ensure that the Confusion will not land. Brick Break will take the knockout. All that's left is the Shadow Primeape, which I can farm down with Dragon Tail and take the win. We move to game number 2, and it's another great lead, Lunatone into Shadow Annihilape. And the Annihilape is not switching out, the Psywave's melting through this Annihilape, and I get to fire off the Weather Ball Ice before they make the Rage Fist. Shield comes up from Annihilape, they're now into the yellow HP, which means I should be able to farm down if they stay in. My opponent is staying in, they're hoping for a farm down that they will not get. It's actually Lunatone that farms them down first, and I exit with a ton of energy. My opponent sends in Crustle, and I immediately pivot into Hakamo-o. In reality, I should have just stayed in and rock slided, and then I could have walled the Crustle with Hakamo-o. My opponent reveals their final Pokemon in the back is going to be Regidrago. Regidrago immediately going to be debuffed by Brick Break. I'm going to get to a second Brick Break as well, or even a Rock Tomb, and that forces my opponent to fire off the Vice Grip. But now I can just bring in Altaria, shield once, farm all the way down. My opponent realizes it, and they will concede the match. Lunatone into Lunatone in the next match. Okay, we have the Battle of the Moons. Anytime I see Lunatone lead, I'm kind of expecting that it is going to be the mirror. My opponent makes a nasty catch as they catch Weather Ball Rock onto Hakamo-o, and I could be in quite a bit of trouble. I'm going to look to farm up as much energy as I dare, get a catch and sneak onto my own Hakamo-o. I'm hoping this is going to be the Rock Tomb, and it is. I'm now going to be debuffed, but that's a pretty massive catch. My opponent will make it to the Brick Break. Brick Break, not going to do a ton of damage. I'm more than happy to survive that. I leave very low on HP and debuffed with my attack and defense, which means this Lunatone is going to get a pretty nice farm down. I go for the Brick Break here, knowing that I can't get 2 moves. I just didn't want to give their Lunatone any extra farm by lowering their attack. Now I will go for the Weather Ball Bait, and I'm able to get the shield from my opponent. I really cannot afford to let this Lunatone see my Altaria, so I'm more than happy to shield and fire off another Weather Ball. Weather Ball I don't think will quite knock out here. It does not get same type attack bonus, and my opponent knows it. Amazing counting as they know shield. If it's the same teams, I need my Lunatone for their Altaria, so I put up the shield, and it is a mirrored team as they have Altaria. I throw 12 Psywaves and the Weather Ball, throwing right before they make it to their Sky Attack. I'm expecting them to undertap, so I will switch into my own Altaria, and I'm able to get the catch. Sky Attack, not going to do a ton of damage, but the big worry is, if my opponent has the same moveset as the previous Altaria and they have Dragon Pulse, I could be in trouble, but luckily they do not. It's just going to be the Sky Attack. My Sky Attack is going to be getting my opponent very low. However, they're still going to be at a health advantage, and that is a problem. The game comes down to this. Will they make the Sky Attack? No, they do not. Lunatone gets the Psywave down. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. They've got a bit of a tricky lead in the next match. Lunatone into Shadow Celio. My opponent safe switches into Furret, and I'm more than happy to send in Hakamo-o. A weakness of this team is any ice type, because notably Rock is a very poor typing defensively, so Rock does not actually resist ice. So if you run into a lot of ice types, then I think this backline will honestly end up being more of a liability than a help. I did go very positive with this team. I went 9-3 across the 12 games that I played with it, but I did have a pretty tough time going up against ice types because there's not a Pokemon on this team that beats ice types. In comes Celio. Celio gets the farm down. I'm unable to make it to my Brick Break. And this is a very risky bait. This is a double resisted Weather Ball Ice into Celio, and I'm able to grab the shield. Now, I have a tough call to make. Are they going to bait back? I say no, I shield, and I end up shielding a Body Slam. That's really not great, but I'm doubling down. I'm going for a second Weather Ball Ice bait, and the bait is a success. My opponent farms up a ton of energy, and now another tough call. Will they full send? Will they nuke? I double shield, it's the Surf, and I make it to the Rock Slide. The double bait pays dividends as Rock Slide erases Celio from the field of play. In the back is Shadow Giratina, and unfortunately the speed of Lunatone is just too much for Giratina to deal with. Weather Ball lands, and now I can send in Altaria. Altaria is about to get rocked by a Shadow Dragon Claw, but I should still be able to take this win. I'm very low on the Altaria, but just have enough HP to make it to the Sky Attack. Sky Attack, easy overkill, KOing that Giratina, and thanks to a diabolical double bait, we're able to get the win. We're looking for the 5-0 here, but it's going to be a really tough battle because we're going up against the Aurorus. Another one of these ice types. Well, so far ice types have been shielding the Weather Ball baits, so I go for another Weather Ball bait, and I am successful. I'm really hoping my opponent will go for the Meteor Beam here, but unfortunately they're smart, they go for the Weather Ball. I try and fire off the Rock Slide, but they make a beautiful catch onto Grumpig, and they sneak through a Psywave as well. This is a pretty big problem because I need energy on the Lunatone if I want any chance of getting rid of Aurorus. So I bank a ton of energy, send an Altaria, but my opponent is not debuffed here on Grumpig, which means Shadow Balls will absolutely shred me. My goal is to try and leave myself with as little HP as possible because I don't want to give a lot of farm to the Aurorus. So I let myself get farmed deep into the red HP, fire off the Sky Attack, and down goes Grumpig. Back in comes Aurorus, they only get one Powder Snow, back in comes the Lunatone, and I should survive the Weather Ball, but it's not going to be by much. Weather Ball lands, my opponent sends their final Pokemon in, which is Charjabug. I'm going to go for an Undercharge on the Charjabug because it's time for a diabolical farm down with Hakamo'o. I need to ensure that I can exit with back-to-back Brick Breaks. My opponent giving up Switch there is actually going to cost them this game. They could have won the game if they just shielded the Aurorus, because Aurorus would have put so much damage onto Hakamo'o, but by giving up Switch, unfortunately, this game is now going to be a loss for them, and I will get my 5-0 set. Because I have back-to-back Brick Breaks, my opponent knows it, they no-shield, down goes Aurorus, and the 5-0 set is secured. We have an opponent breaking out the Spice Cabinet in the next match, Lunatone into Galarian Zapdos. My opponent safe switches into a Shadow Altaria, and unfortunately so far, they are just devastatingly weak to Lunatone. Lunatone's Weather Ball will be shielded. My opponent clearly realizing this is a big problem for their team, and they're trying to get as much Dragon Breath damage as they possibly can. This Altaria has Dragon Pulse as well. I do think that Dragon Pulse is a pretty smart idea to run on Altaria. I just decided to run my Open Great League Altaria because I wanted as high of rank as I possibly could. I'm able to make a third Weather Ball Ice. Down goes Altaria. Back in comes the Zapdos. Lunatone taking knockouts left and right. This, I'm assuming, is going to KO. Weather Ball KOs the Zapdos. In the back is Fearow. Can we get the full 1v3 sweep? Look at Lunatone go. All 3 KOs. No switch outs. The full sweep. And that is a good game. Unfortunately, we come crashing back down to earth in the next match as we see a big core breaker named Crustle. I try for a catch, I do not get it, and unfortunately, this game is already probably over. I think what I should have done against Crustle is just stay in with the Lunatone. The Fury Cutters were actually not doing that much damage. I could have stayed in, played it out, and then once Crustle was pretty much out of the way, hopefully Altaria would do very well in the back. But unfortunately for me, I tried for a catch, I didn't get the catch, and now because I played aggressively, I'm just going to get swept by Crustle. My opponent could probably have a 10 combat power Pidgey in the back and I would still lose this game. Shadow Ball lands, and that's definitely going to hurt even at -1. My opponent has their own Altaria in the back, and unfortunately there's just no way to win. I try for a Lunatone catch, but even if I got a catch of a Sky Attack, that would just make it easier Fury Cutter down for the Crustle. I farm up a ton of energy, going for the Hail Mary win con, which is a no-shielded Rock Slide, but my opponent knows it. They put up the shield. I make it to a Weather Ball, and this is when I learned that Lunatone loses charge attack priority to Crustle. I was not prepared for that. I thought I won charge attack priority. I'm forced to burn the final shield, and from here, my opponent will be able to take the win. I believe they pull off a nasty play here. I try for the farm down. They switch out on 1 HP, combo with the Sky Attack, and there's just no path forward for me in this game. I'm not going to waste anyone's time, and I will resign the match. Oh, we've got a very cool lead from the opponent in the next match as I lead Lunatone into Shadow Gyarados. Shadow Gyarados will win charge attack priority. I see him P-tie here with a Weather Ball. My opponent will know this is not a Rock Slide. However, I just want damage on this Mon, so I'm really hoping they no shield. Weather Ball is going to land. They no shield. That's huge for me, and I get the full farm down. I was a little bit worried that they would still end up shielding, but thankfully they did not. In comes Furret, and I immediately pivot into Hakamo-o. One thing that this backline is very good at is destroying Furret, as both Hakamo and Altaria have very good matchups. The fact that my opponent is not switching out is a bit of a surprise. Swift is going to land onto Hakamo-o, and my opponent sends in Como-o as their final Mon. Immediate brick break from me. They're going to put up the shield. Como-o looking for the farm down, but they don't get there. 1 HP remaining on Hakamo-o. We make a second brick break, and the game's just over. In comes Lunatone. My opponent knows it, and they will resign the match. We see a very bad lead in the next match. Lunatone into Shadow Walrein. These Ice-type leads are so tough for this team because I don't have a resistance to Ice. And in the back, I have single super effective and double super effective damage taken. I'm going to go for yet another Weather Ball bait. I'm only saving a few Psy Waves of energy, but considering how weak I am to Walrein, I'm going to have to make miracles happen. Shield comes up on the Icicle Spear. I'm going to watch for a catch, and my opponent sends in Shadow Dusknoir. Shadow Dusknoir immediately pressured with the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb does a lot of damage, but unfortunately for me, I think that even with them being a -1 attack, I'm not surviving the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch lands. Oh, but Hakamo-o 2 games in a row, 1 HP survives. I desperately want them to shield, but they're too smart. Instead, they're going to no shield and take farm. They want farm on Charge Bug. I pivot into the Lunatone, and my only win con is this. If they shield the Charge Bug, I have a chance, and they do. Charge Bug exits with 4 volt switches of energy. I need to wait down my timer because I probably need a catch to win this game. In comes Altaria. My opponent sends back in the Walrein, and double super effective damage is on the menu. I have to shield up the Icicle Spear. It's just going to be a race to the Sky Attack. I'm throwing it as soon as I get there because I want to take as little Powder Snow damage as humanly possible. Sky Attack will take the knockout. In comes Charge Bug, and we get the catch. They throw as they double up. The 1 HP Hakamo-o absorbs the discharge, and with that, we should be able to win the game. Because they only have 7 volt switches thrown this game, they would need 8 to be at the back-to-back, so I make it to the Flamethrower. Flamethrower is super effective. Charge Bug gets roasted alive, and we somehow survive another Ice-type lead. Unfortunately, the Ice types, we just cannot escape them, as I lead Lunatone into Satitan. Satitan is a very strong pick. Satitan will inflict some big damage with Icicle Spear. I decided to no-shield the first, and I will go for, at this point, I feel like my trademark Weather Ball Ice bait into an Ice type. Weather Ball Ice will get the shield. In comes Hakamo-o. Hakamo-o immediately going to be giving that shield right back on the Icicle Spear, as my opponent should look to pivot out. And they do. They're going to try for a Brick Break catch onto Seaking, but that's the move I want to throw here anyway. Seaking is an incredibly cool pick, as it is running Peck, which is hitting me for super effective damage. But I'm so far ahead on energy that I make the Rock Tomb before they make the Icy Wind, and with the Brick Break debuff, that takes the KO. Back in comes Satitan. Their farm down is unsuccessful, as I will make it to the Brick Break. I don't really want to concede the farm, so I pivot into Lunatone, as my opponent will go for the Icicle Spear. I will put up the final shield, and I just need a Weather Ball Ice at this point. I know it's resisted, but they're already debuffed courtesy of the Brick Break. So I go for the Weather Ball. Down goes Satitan. In the back is Kingdra, and unfortunately, I'm going to lose this game. I can't wait my switch timer long enough for my switch timer to be up. So I wait the full 10 seconds, but my switch clock is not going to be up just by a half second. Kingdra makes the outrage. That's a one-hit KO. Hakamo-o gets farmed down, and unfortunately, we just lose. Hopping to the final match, leading Lunatone into Macargo, a very nice lead. Both Lunatone and my Hakamo-o are going to absolutely destroy this thing. I've gotten away with some pretty diabolical weather ball baits in this video. This time, I'm gonna full send, and unfortunately, my opponent puts up the shield, so I could have gotten one final weather ball bait for the road. They fire off the Rock Tomb, they're gonna pivot into Altaria, and that's a pretty big surprise to me. Altaria does not like this matchup. Even at -1, that's a double super effective weather ball. I send in my own Altaria. Just in case they have Dragon Balls, I will put up the shield, as I have seen it twice. That's not a Dragon Pulse, but it is a Moonblast, so I'm very happy that I shielded. Altaria will get a massive farm down. My energy is pretty useless into the Macargo, but I have a plan. I'm going to throw one Sky Attack, shield up the Rock Tomb, and then just look to pivot out into Hakamo'o. I'm hopeful that the energy on Altaria will be more useful against what they have in the back, because it's pretty useless into Macargo. So I shield, I pivot into Hakamo'o, and my opponent reveals their final Pokemon in the back is Jumpluff. This matchup is not as bad as it has been in years past, courtesy of Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb lands, that's some nice damage onto the Jumpluff, and Jumpluff will probably be taking the KO here with Acrobatics. Acrobatics lands, I send in Altaria. I tried to throw one Dragon Breath and the move. I don't know if I got one turn bring in there or what happened, but they did get a sneak. I go for the catch onto the Lunatone, and it looks like we got it. That's what I needed. Acrobatics would have done way too much damage. Back in comes Altaria, and they send in Macargo. But I'm aware of how far away Macargo is from the Rock Tomb, so I can overfarm massively, knock them out with the Sky Attack. Back in comes the Jumpluff, and Altaria Energy Management wins us this game. Sky Attack KOs the Jumpluff as we escape with a win that we probably should not have gotten. All in all, I was extremely impressed with Lunatone. I feel like this team is a pretty solid team if you're looking to climb. I mean, a trainer managed to hit 3,000 elo with it, but if I was to run Lunatone again, I think I would still run Double Strong to forward in the back, but I would make some team adjustments so that way there's at least one ice resistance on the team. Taking super effective and double super effective damage from ice in the back and then not having an ice resistance on the lead means that anytime you're going up against anything with ice type damage, it's a very stressful game where you have to play very precisely in order to not get completely swept. And we were able to win against quite a few of the ice types, which I think shows the power of the team, but really precise gameplay was required. So I think if I ran it back, I might potentially switch out Altaria for a different third. Maybe something a little bit less weak to ice that still did well against Furret, just so that way, if I run into something like a Titan or a Walrein once again, then I wouldn't be fighting for my life. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And an extra special thank you, as always, to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.